Everyone, it's Lori from Girls in the Garden, and I want to talk about how I made my belt. So here's a picture of my belt. I just posted it on Instagram today, which is March 22nd, so you can go take a look. I did a reel so you can see a 360-degree view. But here is what I had, and I used the precision positioning on my FOF Creative icon to repeat it. But this is my design in mySewnet. And how I got that is I always have a hard time keeping things within the parameters of the width I want. And I knew I wanted my width to be 1.5 inches on my belt. I measured some other belts. That's kind of what I thought would fit nicely in my belt loops. So how I went about it is I went to frames and then clicked right here in the frame category. And then I just went down and found one that I could make a rectangle. I picked one. And then I stretched it to where it would fit, and make sure once you stretch it, you do center in the hoop so you keep everything the same. But I've talked about this before in mySewnet. It's such a nice feature. You can get the length. In this case, it's the width. So I'm going to measure right here, and I'm at 1.54, which is good enough. If it wasn't, you would go back home, click on it, adjust your width. Now do note I have this longer than the hoop. So if I tried to stitch it, it would say won't fit in the hoop. But we're not going to worry about this after a while. Now, one more thing I like to do is I'm a very visual person. So I went to music and I just got the straight line. And I'm going to apply it. Let's go to 200. We can always stretch it out and hit apply. And then I'm going to go home and rotate it. And I probably should have made it smaller because I'm going to make it very skinny right on that center line because I want to keep all my designs right on that center line. Now, in essence, I should have made this one a little bit smaller. Let's go do that again. We're going to delete it and we're going to go to Super Design and we're just going to do 50 because we don't want it to be very significant. We want it just there so we can see the center. I know we've got that line right there that shows us center, but like I said, I'm a very visual person. So I want to see that right there. So there's my center. And then we're going to go to Super Design and I'm just going to pick flowers. And we'll go right here and do flowers. And I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to keep repeating it. And I knew I wanted it to have more greenery than I wanted flowers. So we'll go like this, and I'm going to say about 30. And that wasn't big enough, so we'll do 35. That fits, and I'm going to move it to the very front. But see, by keeping that on that line, I can make sure I've got just what I wanted. And then we can go to leaves, but we'll go to the floral category. So we can flower and leaves. Then we can find our leaves we want. And you can pick whichever one you want. You can hit apply here and just keep repeating it until you have it all filled. Now what I wanted to make sure about, and we'll look at mine real quick, is I knew I could not repeat this more than what I had because I didn't have the space. See if I moved over? So I stopped my repeat when I knew I couldn't match up the next flower and the leaves, because if I'd gone more, then my repeat wouldn't have been the same. So if you're going to do repeating, just make sure you have a good pattern. Okay, let's go back to this one. Let's say I have it all filled here. Before you combine, we don't want to stitch these out, so we're going to delete them in mySewnet because we haven't combined everything. And once I do have it, then I would go home, combine, and I would go ahead and center it. And then you have room to do your precision placement. But that's how I did it. It's, we don't have to stitch things out, but we can use them as tools so that we can have a better placement and a better end result.